Mic'd up.
No music.
No
There's
music.
no music.
I
We're
lost my
recording.
music.
All right.
Lost my music.
Da, da, da,
Da, da, da.
da.
I actually had it set up
Hello.
and lost it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast special episode. We have said that we are dedicated to coming on when things happen. They're a little out of the ordinary, on top of our normal Thursday night episode. So we are here tonight to talk about some interesting things. An amazing, really historic weekend in Yankee land here. So I want to welcome my good buddy, I say that with quotes, Mr. Michael Miller, and my name is...
Hi, Mom.
The only one watching right now is Mike's mom.
No, she's not watching.
No.
She's glad I'm 3,000 miles away. 15 home runs, 36 runs. 15 home runs, 36 runs. 4 by Judge, 3 by Jazz, 2 by Volpe, 2 by Wells, and then 1 each from Cody, Goldie, Peraza, Rice. And the Yankees had 15 home runs, the same number of home runs that Rafael Devers had strikeouts for the weekend.
Did Devers really strike out 15?
No, he actually went 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts.
Wow, bad. He must really like that new job. He's loving it over there.
I don't even want to talk about it. So here's the deal, right? Obviously, the big controversy is the Torpedo Bat, right? Oh, by the way, nobody wants to talk about the 5 errors on Saturday, but that's a different story. When they learn how to do PFPs in the first baseman and the pitchers,
I do.
Figure out how to play. I mean, we'll talk about it, but quite frankly, this is ridiculous.
But nobody else does. Everyone is just admired and the joy of 15 home runs, which is, as we, sit in the next couple of weeks, they're going to get shut out 3 times, and then they're going to hit like 4 ground balls, and everyone's going to say they only win with home runs. So there's no way for them to win.
Well, it also helps that, listen, the Royals hit 4 homers today against the Brewers, and Bauer still has the best ERA in all of baseball. Jake Bauer.
Yeah, and I have to say that I have never seen Nestor look so horrible. I mean, the ball, there is no reason why an 88-mile-an-hour fastball straight down the middle shouldn't be put in orbit. It's just it's batting practice. So, to sit there and blame the bat on Nestor was just had nothing. And as we know, that's why he's now hurt, apparently. But
no, he's fine. He's not hurt. And by the way, Frankie just chimed in. He updated my Devers stats. He is 15 strikeouts and he's 0 for 19. So Thank you, Frankie. I had it right the first time.
Rough weekend for Raphael.
So anyhow, let's talk about the bats. All right. I used an analogy the other day, but I did some research over the last couple of days. Really, what the bat did is it shifted some of the wood from the end of the bat to the barrel. It put the wood and the hardest part of the bat where the players are most likely to hit the ball or where they want to hit the ball. It makes a lot of sense, right? It just makes a lot of sense. So I have a couple of bats here that I got when I was working for the A's. This is Chad Pinder's bat. Now, if you look at this bat and you get to the end of the bat, it is actually slightly tapered so that it's fatter here than it is here, but not to the extent that the Yankees bats are exaggerated right now for what they have for the Torpedo. And then this is Adames Diaz's bat as well. And the same thing. It is a little smaller here than it is here on the barrel. But the key here to me is it places the strongest part of the bat where the players want to make contact and makes that also the widest part of the bat as opposed to the end of the bat. Makes absolute sense. When you hear the story behind it, clearly people smarter than me, which is not much of a hurdle, figured it out. It's sort of like, to me, when I read it, I was like, oh, sort of like the first time I ever saw, Pat Mitchell's in Binghamton, but Ben & Jerry's ice cream. What took so long to put the cookie dough into the ice cream and make cookie dough ice cream? I mean, why was that some kind of miracle when Ben & Jerry did it? Or the other schmutz that they put in the ice cream that makes it taste so good sometimes? It doesn't make any sense. What took so long to put the Oreo cookies in the ice cream? This makes a lot of sense logically to me. The question is it legal? And It is absolutely 100% legal. It meets all of the requirements. It doesn't violate the drops from the length to the weight. It's not too long at 42 inches, and the bat at its thickest is no more than 2.61 inches.
And that's the
So
requirement. In fact, most bats are 34, so it's not, they're far from being beyond
right.
any size limit. So it's really that's not the issue. That's really not. It's
It's
not.
a pure technology thing. I love this Jazz Chisholm quote. Ready? Okay. The explanation: the barrel is bigger, and when Major League and within Major League Baseball regulations. For the idiots that say it's moved to the label, you're an idiot. Nobody's trying to get jammed. You just move the wood from the parts you don't use to the parts you do. You're welcome. No more stress for you all. Basically, Jazz is saying they put the hardest part of the bat where you want to make contact. And to me, there's two things that come with that, right? The two things that come with that is that the end of the bat, you weren't getting very many hits off the end of the bat. Yes, you get a dink or a dunk, but the exit velocity off the end of the bat, because the leverage is bad, is not nearly as good as the leverage when you hit it off the meat of the bat, the barrel. So you weren't getting a hit off the end of the barrel, so you make that smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You lose exit velocity. Well, okay, you lose exit velocity, you lose hits, but how many hits are you really going to lose? Then you go to the barrel. How many times do guys just miss a pitch? Right now, the barrel is 2.61 inches instead of 2.58 or 2.55.
Yeah, we're talking about millimeters here. It's not
right. We're talking about millimeters, but they're missing by that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they've got a bigger piece of wood where they want to hit the ball.
Yeah.
To hit it. So they're going to make more solid contact. And then last but not least, you're hitting it with the hardest part of the bat. You're going to increase your exit velocity. And increased exit velocity off the better part of the bat is going to get you more hits. So it really makes absolute sense to me.
Yeah. And the thing about this is that as we saw, the man who hit the most home runs did not do it this week. He's still with the original bat, and that's because that works for him. And I think that's the key here, that a guy who dives out, someone like Jeter, who would dive into the ball and would get jammed a lot, is impacted by this kind of thing. And Jeter probably would have loved this.
No, because Jeter was hitting the ball off the label, and the label, for those of you who don't know, here's the end of the bat where the player's name is. Here's the label. You don't want to hit the ball here.
But that's it. The guys who have
you want to hit it here.
But that's it. The guys who have a tendency to dive into the ball, like Volpe, who got jammed a lot, are the ones who have a problem. They will benefit from this because that ball will where they tend to hit the ball is not on the end of the bat, but on the inside. And that's where they're going to benefit. A guy who, however, doesn't do that.
Yeah, I think,
who makes
I think you're misreading the bat. I don't think the bat is any bigger over here. The bat is bigger here. It's not bigger here. It's smaller here. It's the same. It's smaller on the end. Same over here. It's just bigger where you're supposed to hit the ball.
Yeah.
So the guys who have the highest barrel rates are going to have an even higher barrel rate because the balls that they just missed. And Volpe doesn't dive in. Volpe opens his hips and hits it away. Jazz dives in and he uses this bat. But I think the people that are going to benefit the most are the guys who hit the barrel the most and the guys who just get under or just over pitches because now they've got a thicker barrel. And the guys who hit the ball off the end of the bat shouldn't switch bats because they're going to lose the exit velocity. And the guys who hit it off the handle and get jammed, basically any batter who ever faced Mariano Rivera, it's not going to make that much of an impact. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then we say the guy that hit the most home runs over the weekend didn't use the bat. Jeff Passan reported the player who embraced this alteration most easily and the guy with the best bat speed in baseball at 81.2 miles per hour, which is 3 miles per hour better than anyone else, hasn't even used the bat in a game yet this season. But he did use the bat during the 24 postseason. And the player who used the bat in the 24 postseason was Giancarlo Stanton. He had a great postseason, and he was using this bat in postseason, and nobody noticed, and nobody said spit about it. Now, did it cause his tendonitis? That's a different story, but
we'll see. But I mean, I think that you do things. You use a certain kind of glove in the field that makes you, like an outfielder uses a larger glove, an infielder uses a smaller glove. You use equipment as it is, it's designed to help you do certain things that fit your game, where you are in the
Yep.
field and where you're swinging the bat. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, as long as everybody has the right to use it, and everybody has a choice of saying, I'm not into it. If I don't work, it doesn't work for me. It would be a problem if everybody said, this is now what we have to use. It would be a problem if only some people were allowed to use it. It should be, it is just a choice of equipment that will fit certain people better than others. I still think that it's going to have a problem for anybody who tries to hit the ball. If you miss and you hit it off the end of the bat, you're going to get a little doinker, and it's probably not going to play
You
very
get a doinker anyhow for the most part.
well.
Listen, the
But
argument you just made about the glove and the things like that is the counter to the argument, and I think it was very well articulated by you. The argument is, the pitchers have had the advantage for all this time with technology, because you can measure spin rate, how far the vertical movement and the horizontal movement and this and that and the other thing. And the argument that they make is that it's all about the pitchers changing their own physical body and performance. It's not equipment that they're changing, it's their performance they're changing. But I don't agree with it. I actually like your argument, and I agree with your argument. Listen, the baseball has a rule that says the bat has to be within 42 inches or less. The drop can't be more than 3 ounces, and the bat at no point on the bat can the bat be more than 2.61 inches in diameter. These
so,
bats meet those rules.
all right, let's go back to that, what you said before, because that's the core to the torpedo bat movement, if there is one. That dummy from the who got slapped down by his manager. Give Murphy credit, but
McGill, the closer.
I mean, what a joke. I'm gonna sit here and he said that he was misquoted, but he said something like, I think it's terrible, that they're allowed to do this. But what do you mean? I mean, you didn't like it because your guys got hit, and they would have hit you anyway. And the best thing
He's the only one that didn't get hit. That's what's really
yeah.
funny.
The guys, yeah, exactly. And the guy, but the manager comes out and says, listen, if you throw the ball right down the middle and very slowly, it's going to go very far. So it's that's just the way it's going to be. If you don't have movement, it's not going to work. If you don't fool these guys, they're going to kill you. So that's the right answer. But to your point about the physical versus the technical, listen, pitchers were given an amazing gift back in the day, or batters were given an amazing gift. They lowered the mound. Back
Right.
in the 68 season, after the year of the pitcher, they lowered the mound. And as a result of that, pitchers lost advantage. So obviously there is a physical component. There is a tool out there. There is equipment. You want to call the mound a piece of equipment?
It's history.
No, it's a prop. It's what they use. So to me, that is something that affects them. So the difference is that a batter absolutely needs a bat. You can't play the game without a piece of wood. So it makes sense that the wood is going to be advanced. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember when Reggie used to get up. Reggie had this big Adirondack that had a big blue center in the middle of it, and it had this huge, massive end and a very thin area near the label. It was all barrel. It was massive. I think it was bigger than 2.6 inches. I'm sure they adjusted because you don't see that bat anymore. But he had a bat that looked like it looked like a club, and nobody messed around with that. Nobody. That was the equipment of the time. The equipment of today is many different shapes of bats, many different types of wood. I mean, same thing goes to it. Why did they allow maple? Maple's more expensive and much harder than other bats? Should they have allowed that? I mean, it's equipment. It's no different. This is just the shape of the bat being a little bit different to emphasize certain strengths of certain types of hitters. And I'm all for it. Go for it. Mostly because I think that the game has become too thrower centric. I don't like that it's all about 100 miles an hour. These guys need to even the playing field a little bit. I didn't like it when in 19 when the ball was altered and everybody was hitting it, and Gleyber Torres hit 40 home runs. I didn't like that either. I thought that was bad. But let me ask you a question: is altering the weight and heart and density of a baseball, is that Cheating?
It wasn't cheating because it was done. Well, it was done secretly, so it was a bad thing to do. When our friend Bud Selig did that.
Well, that's what I mean by being.
It wasn't cheating. It was a bad. It was just to do it and not tell anybody that you're doing it is what was wrong with that.
Then
they came out and said, "Hey, we're making the ball harder so that it travels farther." Yeah, but bat regulations have been in place since before the 1900s. Just so you know.
All right.
With regard to the width and the diameter of the bat, I'm having trouble finding when the 2.61 came into place, but way back in 1873, 1872, the ball and bat dimensions came into play. Now, granted, the ball and bat technology has changed over years, obviously, but Babe Ruth used that monster bat because guys couldn't throw it as hard. But yeah, it's what bothers me is that it's not illegal what they're doing. They're not the only team doing it. The Rays are doing it, and the Twins are doing it for sure. There's other teams that are doing it. Manny Machado had the best reaction, I thought, in all of baseball, which is hard to use in a sentence. He said, "Send some of those over to us in San Diego. Maybe we'll be able to hit some balls out of Petco Park." Great answer. He's like, "Send them over."
Yeah. All right, so who's using it? The Twins, the Rays, and the Yankees.
At least the Twins, the Rays, and the Yankees are using it. There's other teams that are using it as well.
So
but it's not every player, right? Judge didn't use it.
And I think every player, anybody, is not a player in the game. First of all, because they don't have to pay for their bats, so they get them as I keep hearing I'm going to have a model made in my I'm going to have a version made in my size and my and my specifications, whatever that means. They're already doing this. Players already making their bats a certain way.
They were already making bats specific way for the players. And then the players would get the bats and then they would, I don't know, the right word is not sand it, but they would even whittle it down even further so that the handle was, the bat would get measured and it'd come in and it gets the approval. And then they whittle it down so that it becomes even more tapered and the handles become even thinner. Or above where their hands are is thinner than where their handle is. You also have the axe bat now, which doesn't have a butt end on it. You've got the big block butt end bats. You've got a whole bunch of things that are going on. But, as far as the bat goes, this is, if you think about the logic behind it, it makes sense. If somebody wants to argue that this is a piece of equipment and not a player improving, okay, I can understand that argument, but I think you countered it very well. The equipment in baseball has been changing forever. The bats changed, the balls changed, and I'm not just talking about the change, the secret change that they made, which also was the time when they said, "Oh yeah, we all know they're using steroids. We all know that there's leaded coffee and super leaded coffee." I'm ignoring all of that, but they changed the rules. They've allowed different things that go on with regard to the bats and the balls for years and years. They changed the height of the mound, like you said. Catcher's equipment has changed. Hey, catchers didn't wear masks for a while. Do you think that was a bad change that they could wear masks? I mean, I know it's a safety thing, but it's just the strike zone clearly changes from umpire to umpire. And, the strike zone changed National League to American League when they used to have the different type of chest protectors. I just think this whole thing where people are jumping up and down and getting upset. Dave Portnoy, like he needs to get anything. He's a Barstool Sports guy. He went crazy, and he said the Yankees have a long history of cheating and being scumbags, and this is just the latest version of that. And I'm like, come on, man. They're not the only ones doing it, and they're not cheating. They got the okay to do it because they found out it was legal. And then he said it's unfair to pitchers, and then he also said that he was a high school baseball star. And then again, I'm going to quote my friend Jazz, and he said to Dave Portnoy, it's the Indian, not the arrow. And he referred to Portnoy as a high school baller. And it's great. Jazz was like, I don't want to hear this crap from you, Portnoy. So, I mean, it's just.
I love it. Well, that's my favorite, but it falls into the category of it's not the wand, it's the magician. And I think that it sounds like a lot of disgruntled man in that ball player is in that message right there. Was he a pitcher or was he? He probably could hit anyway.
All I know of this is the guy made billions of dollars selling Barstool and $1 billion more when he bought it back. So who the hell knows? Good. But I mean, think about the size of the baseman's glove change, the size of the catchers. I mean, look at the catcher's gloves this year. I noticed that when you watch the games now, watch the catcher's mitts, they look more like first baseman's mitts than ever. They started moving in that direction. Looking at the games this year, they look more and more like first baseman's mitts than I've ever seen, where it's very thin on the outside now. And they
they barely use the glove anyway anymore. Basically, it's amazing how bad catching mechanics can be. I love when guys do stuff and you hear like you'll have Girardi on and you'll just hear him like, oh God, how did he do that? Like a lot of sidearm, a lot of backhands.
Well, they don't move. Well, listen, Johnny Bench.
Well, they can't because they're their legs down now. They're doing the.
But Johnny Bench was Johnny Bench was one of the best defensive catchers in the history of baseball, and he never blocked balls the right way. He was always, even though he was not on his knee, he was always backhand, forehand. He hardly ever blocked the ball by shifting his body out. It just was the way.
That's the only way. Munson blocked everything off of his face. It seemed. Munson just
dove out to block. Listen, when I was catching, I was not the most nimble of catchers. And one time my coach was trying to teach me how to better block the ball. And being the jackass that I am in high school, and even before that, the jackass I am, my answer to him was, well, Johnny Bench doesn't do this. And he looked at me and said, you're not Johnny Bench. And I said, neither are you. I said, my strength at catching was that I could throw the ball, not that I could block the ball. So, I was never the best receiver. I was very good at framing, but I was not a very good receiver of blocking of pitches.
You were framing before framing was a thing.
Oh no, it was one of the coolest things ever. I had an umpire tell me once. He said, "You catch the ball differently than everybody else." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You have an inside pitch, and you move your glove way over, and you grab it like this, whereas everybody else just grabs it." He goes, "You don't, that thing that they do now where they go, woo." He goes, "You grab it and hold it." He goes, and if any corner of your glove is in the strike zone, you just make sure that that's where you're catching, you're bringing the ball to that spot." And I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "This is what I was told to do. I have no idea." And he said, "Really? You don't know what you're doing?" I go, "No, I don't know what I'm doing." So I got lucky. But I was What?
Did you get the catch Mo? Did you get the catch Mo wiper?
Yeah.
Or was your brother?
You videotaped it for me. Remember, he threw the first pitch. The first pitch, he goes, line up on the inside corner. And I was like, okay. And I lined up on the inside corner to a lefty. Figured he was going to throw a cutter. And he goes, no, I said the inside corner. And I said to him, hey, I didn't know that the invisible man was a right-handed hitter. And then he proceeded to throw a cutter that didn't break from right to left. It broke from left to right and went right past me. And he yelled at me, "I thought you said you can catch." And I was like, and then after that, I was fine. I mean, but then again, my brother couldn't throw the ball back to Rivera. It was very funny.
Well, that was my biggest fear. When I was throwing, all I cared about was making sure that I didn't have – the last thing I knew is Mariano Rivera falls off the mound trying to go after one of my balls and is injured.
He was He was really good. He was really good with the people who came to the event. He really engaged very well.
He was. But what I loved, what I was going to say was that, I've caught a lot of curveballs in my life, in whatever capacity I have, not catching like you
do. By your face.
And I always was able to roll my hands into it. And I thought when he threw the cutter, that was what was going to happen. And I got to see why it's so amazing from the catcher's perspective. And I'm sure he didn't throw us his best, even close to his best.
But it might have been his best stuff at 30, 50 years old. So it was his best at 50.
But it threw it.
So it cuts so late. That's what's amazing.
It cuts so late. It cut at the point where normally a curve starts around halfway to especially our curves. They start about halfway from the mound. And you see it. And if you can track it and wait, you're going to hit it and go the other way with it. You'll be fine. But with his, it was a straight fastball until it hit the outside of home plate. And then it suddenly moved. That's what was so amazing.
It broke inside the dirt of the circle of home plate. And that's when it started to cut. And it was amazing. It was the most amazing pitch I've ever caught. But who knows?
And you really
so these people need.
But the point about it is that catchers, when they were catching knuckleball pitchers, were given gloves the size of a Buick back in the day.
Thank you very much.
And again, another thing to deal with the reality of your game at that moment. Nobody felt it was a bad thing to do. Nobody blamed them and said that's cheating. because you're going to be able to cash a ball and won't be as many pass balls. It was in the best interest of the game. I feel that this is exactly like that. And if the commissioner had to get involved, I bet he's going to say it's better for the game to have these guys have the ability to alter their game or alter their equipment to match their game skill, their ideal skill set. And I think that's going to be fine as long as it's allowed for everybody. And pitchers are out there looking for a way to deal with it right now. Anyway, they're going to talk about how they're going to start worrying about ways to cut that ball so that the ball goes outside more. So maybe they got to stay away from guys more so that they get the outside. Maybe they got to stop pitching inside. Whatever they're going to have to. Everything is adjustments in this game. So it's. I think it's great. I think it's great for baseball. I love.
If you look at the bats, if you go look at the bats,
cool. I want to buy them.
Well, if you look at the bats and you go out to any sporting goods store and you go to get a slow pitch softball bat, which they have tons of out here, the bats are shaped like this. Yeah. And so that's the other reason I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed by that.
Yeah. I know. I want to get one. Not that it's going to help me even the slightest, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I get to switch to aluminum in my league. So what do I know?
That's right. You're an old fart now.
I get to use it weekend, as a matter of fact. So, it looks like the bat rules changed in the 1890s, where the bats couldn't be more than 2.75 inches in diameter, and then slowly but surely back sometime in the early 20th century is when they went to 2.61 for the bats that are made out of wood. But yeah, they don't say what kind of wood you have to use. You could use any kind of wood. Maple, they're using maple. They're using ash. They're using all sorts of different bamboo. They use now as well. So
yeah, this is great. I'm loving it. I think it's good. And let's just finish. We got a couple of minutes. I think we work this one. We'll probably talk about it again because what's going to happen is in a week in a few days when we do our show, there'll be more games and the Yankees will not have hit 3 or 4 or 5 home runs in a game. Everyone's going to say, "Oh, what's wrong?" It ultimately is probably more about the Brewers than anything else, than a change in bat.
Right now, it certainly looks that way right now.
Well, we will see, but so as far as the Yankees are concerned. Love the start. I couldn't be happier. I thought that their infield again. They still cannot they still cannot make plays. They got to get rid of this kid Reyes. I'm sorry. They do not need a defensive liability at third base. I don't care. That's not what they need right now. If they're going to put somebody in there, make him a quality infielder with skills. I'm not saying that he's not. Maybe he had a bad game. Maybe he had a bad weekend. Whatever. They've got other guys. Go with it. Go the flow. Do they need him? I don't think Peraza is going to be worse at third base. What do you think?
I think personally, there's no reason for Pablo Reyes to be on the team.
So
Peraza,
we agree.
If they're going to bench Cabrera against left-handed pitching, give Peraza a shot. See what you've got.
Worst case scenario yesterday. So how about that?
What?
He hit a bomb a couple days ago.
I know. So I just don't understand why he's on the team, Reyes. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't look like he's a bad fielder in his career. Oh, I take it back. In 2024, he was a very bad fielder.
Okay.
No, sorry, I got the wrong stat. He's not major league career at third base. He has 9 errors in 269 innings. So he's got an .892 fielding percentage, which is not really that good. It's not the worst, but it's not good.
Also, what I didn't see were
in the same amount of time at shortstop, he's got a .967 fielding percentage. Quite frankly, if you're going to have a guy who need the fielding, that's the bottom line. And Peraza should be the guy. He should have been the guy from the get-go. And we'll see what happens.
This was and I'm just going to finish that. I think the biggest issue, my biggest concern with bringing Fried on the team was that the Yankee infield wasn't going to be able to catch all these ground balls. And they proved, and he showed that he couldn't do his part either. But they look terrible. I got to tell you, I'm loving Jazz. I love the short. I love the shorts. I love the double play combination. They are going to be when they get into full season mode, they are going to be dynamic up the middle.
Well, Jazz's footwork is fantastic because it's so quick, and his arm is fantastic. I just don't understand guys who've been excellent fielders their entire career: Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Paul Goldschmidt, Anthony Rizzo. What the hell's going on between the pitchers and the first baseman with the Yankees?
I don't know. But not just that. Like anything that's in front of the pitcher, anything that's around the pitcher's mound. I don't know what's going on. They just don't seem to be comfortable making that play to first, and that amazes me.
So many of the pitchers and almost all of the first basemen. That's got to be at least partially on the coaching. Got to be partially on the coaching.
Give it to them. I'll give it to them. No difference this year than last year. So what's changed? Same coaches, new players, same coaches. Got a problem. Okay. So all right. Anyway, 7:31 and fantastic, fun little impromptu here. Be with my buddy, talk baseball, talking bats, talking torpedoes. No more suppository photographs. No more for the suppository.
Well, I'm sorry that we had to have a picture of Kramer's butt plug. By the way, Kramer will be buying these new bats for everybody who has a vote for me.
That is correct. He is committed.
And they will be personalized with your name on them. Expect them in return for your vote. Elon Musk will give you $1 million. Kramer will give you a baseball bat. All right. On that note, we're out of here.
Have a good day, my friend. Bye-bye, everybody.